Is asylum in America about to change forever? If a group of Republican senators has their way, sweeping changes to the asylum system will be included in a new law that Congress must pass to keep the government open beyond November 17th, 2023, when the country will run out of money, absent the appropriation of funding through a new bill. Passage of the new asylum proposal would wholly transform our asylum framework, making it all but impossible for just about everyone who comes here seeking refuge to actually get it. And while it's unclear which of the proposed changes, if any, will actually become law, it does bear understanding what's on the table, as these measures are sure to emerge again in future negotiations, and they may serve as Republican talking points in the 2024 presidential campaign. I'm going to tell you in this video what you need to know about Republican plans for reshaping asylum in the United States. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending or are considering applying, and I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for an asylum interview for multiple years. All right. A group of Republicans from the Senate Judiciary Committee revealed on November 6th a proposal called Solutions for the Southern Border Crisis, in which they put forth policy proposals that they want to be included in the law that Congress is trying to pass to keep the government funded so that it doesn't shut down on November 17th. They're basically saying they won't vote to fund the operations of the US government unless Democrats agree to sweeping immigration changes, including how our asylum system works. There are 4 categories of immigration changes that these Republicans want to see, and today we're focusing on the one that's all about asylum. It's titled Asylum Reform, Stopping the Top Loophole That Pulls Illegal Aliens to the USA. There are 7 points in this section. Let's look at each of them briefly. Number 1, safe third country. Makes aliens ineligible for asylum if they have transited through at least one country outside their home country, unless the aliens can show that they sought and were denied protection in each such safe third country. Now, this one is huge. It's saying that you can't get asylum unless you applied for and were denied asylum in all countries through which you passed en route to the United States, which effectively means you're not getting asylum unless you had a direct flight to the United States. Had a brief layover in Frankfurt in transit to catch a connecting flight to America? Sorry, you're not eligible for asylum here because you didn't apply for asylum in Germany. Barely made it through Mexico alive, narrowly escaping the drug cartels? Well, sorry, no asylum in the United States because you didn't apply for asylum in Mexico and wait for that process to run its course. Basically, under this rule, only those lucky enough to have a direct flight here, along with Mexicans and Canadians who don't have to pass through a third country on the way to America, could get asylum in the United States. Now, this is entirely at odds with current law and our commitments under international treaties that we've signed, by the way. Okay, number 2, credible fear standard. Raises the asylum credible fear of persecution initial screening standard from significant possibility to more likely than not, weeding out non-meritorious claims earlier in the asylum process, allows asylum officers to deny unwarranted credible fear and withholding of removal claims, and limits administrative appeals of denials. Now with this one, they're trying to close the door from the outset. The credible fear process is meant to ensure that we don't send back into harm's way anyone who might possibly have a viable asylum claim, purposefully erring on the side of caution and giving potentially viable claims a chance to be heard in full in immigration court. But this change would flip that approach on its head and have the default position be, sorry, you're going home. Next up, number 3, port of entry. Forces migrants who are requesting asylum to make their request at a port of entry, which will allow Border Patrol to focus on dangerous drug smugglers and criminals. This one is saying you can't get asylum if you enter the country at a place other than a designated port of entry, basically meaning a border crossing checkpoint or at an airport. And again, this is contrary to current law and our international treaty obligations, which make clear that a person can seek protection no matter how they entered the United States. Okay, number 4 on our list. Prevents 2 bites at the apple, makes the denial of an alien's affirmative asylum claim controlling when he later raises asylum as a defense to removal. This prevents frivolous delays. So people who come on a visa normally have an interview at a USCIS asylum office, and if they get a negative decision there, their case gets sent to an immigration court, where they get another chance to explain their case, and a judge can give them asylum if they think it's warranted. This provision by Senate Republicans would make it so that the asylum officer's decision is final, no second chance in immigration court. This is a terrible idea given just how bad USCIS is at assessing asylum claims. The agency gets it wrong more than 3/4 of the time in its denials, or at least according to immigration judges, who tend to be way more sophisticated than USCIS asylum officers. Judges grant asylum in a full 76% of cases sent to them from USCIS, where the asylum officer has said that asylum should not be granted. Making the asylum office's decision final would mean most cases would be unfairly and illegally denied. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. All right, number 5, one central reason for withholding of removal claims requires the alien to show that the central reason for the threatened harm in the return country is related to that alien's race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Now, under current law, you can get this form of protection called withholding of removal by showing that you're likely to be persecuted and that the bad guys are motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under US asylum law. Now, this proposed change would make it so that your possession of the protected ground has to be the only thing motivating the persecution. Rather than being one of the main reasons, it would have to be the only reason. Next up, number 6, streamlined screening makes initial screenings more consequential, reduces administrative delays. Well, I gotta say, it's unclear what they mean by this, but it appears to be another reference to the credible fear process, a means to more quickly kick out more asylum seekers, probably. All right, finally, number 7, other asylum exceptions makes aliens ineligible for asylum if they have committed felonies or other serious crimes, including gang-related crimes, DUI, child abuse, domestic violence, certain controlled substance offenses, and extreme cruelty or battery. So, that's the list. Wholesale adoption of these measures would pretty much eliminate asylum in the United States. Thankfully, that's not going to happen. Democrats simply won't agree to all these changes in exchange for getting enough Republican votes to keep the lights on after November 17th. But I am concerned that one or more of these provisions could become law, if not now, then at some point in the future, especially if Republicans ever seize total control of the government, meaning they take both houses of Congress and the presidency, which is certainly a possibility. I'll be monitoring developments on this subject, and I'll keep you updated in future videos. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then call my office today. That number is 713-352-1593. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.